2003, 22 years after the recovery of the hull of the Mary Rose, and the diving support vessel to Shelling lies on a 4-point mooring over the protected wreck site of the Mary Rose. Underwater, a team of professional divers are excavating the area where the bow of the ship is thought to lie. This is the story of those excavations.
In December 2002, the Mary Rose Trust was asked to come to a meeting with the MOD where they put on the table a chart of the Solent which showed a red line going right through the historic wreck circle within which the remains of the possible bow castle of the Mary Rose lie.
Because of its size, at 60,000 tonnes, the proposed future aircraft carrier, or CVF, due to come into service with the Royal Navy in 2012, would need a deep, straight-line channel to enable it to navigate into Portsmouth Harbour. The proposed new channel would take a course which would bisect the 300-metre protection zone around the Mary Rose historic wreck site. The existing shipping channel into Portsmouth Harbour takes a route well clear of the site and curves round to the east of Spitsand Fort, and is easily navigable by ships of around 20,000 tonnes, such as HMS Ark Royal.
They almost put it as a fait accompli. You know, we're going to build 2 new aircraft carriers. We need to have a deeper, straightforward channel to go into Portsmouth Harbour, which is going to be the base port or the home port for these carriers. And at that time, they knew very little about what historic wreck was, or indeed that there was anything left after the lifting of the Mary Rose in 1982. And I think for many people there's this misconception that although the Mary Rose as she's displayed in the museum in Portsmouth Dockyard is incomplete, that's all there was of the Mary Rose at all.
Hydrographic surveys of the seabed around the Mary Rose site included side-scan sonar recordings which produce images of the seabed such as this. Data was also gathered using a magnetometer, a device which, by measuring deviations in the natural magnetic field of the Earth, can detect metallic anomalies lying on or under the seabed.
So in December 2002, we put forward a plan to the MOD that if they were considering this new approach channel, we should do some work on site.
The Ministry of Defence agreed to fund an operation to examine what remains may lie under the seabed within the Mary Rose protection zone. Current commercial diving legislation requires the use of a professional diving team. They are using surface demand diving equipment. This allows the diver an indefinite air supply, but they still wear a cylinder or bailout bottle for emergencies. They are deployed to the seabed using a wet bell. This allows them to take heavy equipment with them and allows easy entry and exit from the water even in rough weather. The dive is controlled from the surface by a diving supervisor. One advantage of using this type of diving equipment is that the divers have clear voice communication with the surface.
All stopping about.
And the diving supervisor and archaeologists can also monitor their dive by watching pictures sent to the surface from a video camera on the diver's helmet. The divers deploy from the bell, which hangs just above the seabed. On the initial dives, the seabed was found to consist of a thick layer of fine silt. Despite the very poor visibility caused by this silt, the divers were soon at work with airlifts, and it wasn't long before they were beginning to uncover wooden structure. Also being trialled during 2003 was Monica, a tracked robotic vehicle which was used to remotely excavate the spoil heaps left over from the 1980s, the spoil being pumped to the surface where the sieved material was checked for artefacts.
If a diver finds an artefact underwater, then if it's small enough, they'll bring it back to the bell with them. If it's larger, then they would take it to one of the collecting bins or to the cargo basket on the seabed, and that is retrieved by the ship every few days. Once it's on board, we go through the material. categorise it and take it back to the various areas for processing. So some of the larger timbers have to go onto deck or into temporary ponds until we have time to process, because obviously a cargo basket has enormous numbers of objects in it. You could have 40 or 50 or more artefacts, which take a couple of days to actually process. We use a computer database to record the artefacts, their dimensions, their material, what they actually are, and the sort of classification they are. Are they part of the ship itself? Are they part of ship's fittings? Are they ordnance? Are they personal possessions, perhaps? We enter all this sort of information into the database.
We're using a very sophisticated underwater positioning system this year, and what this enables us to do is to see where the two divers are at all times, and this is excellent both for safety and for guiding the divers onto different jobs. But it also means that they, during their dive, can take accurate positions of all the objects that they're finding on the seabed, and this means it's much more efficient in terms of the archaeology, and we can make instant plans on the surface of where the objects are.
After 200 hours of diving, an impressive amount of structure had been uncovered.
Now we've got 10 ribs or frames of the ship. We've got this huge timber which forms at the bottom of the bow as the ship begins to curve up. And we've got an expanse that goes 7 meters in one direction and 6 meters in the other, with timber just coming up everywhere.
A 5-metre length of this large timber, thought to be part of the stem of the ship, was only partially uncovered. Further excavation in 2004 would be required to uncover its full length.